Have you ever felt like there's a vivid fire burning inside of you, yearning to break free and illuminate your life? That, my friend, is your vibrant life waiting to bloom. Welcome to the Vibrant Life Podcast. We are here to empower women just like you to liberate that vibrant life, to live authentically, and to harness the power within.
Our journey will take us through the enlightening realms of energy healing, goal setting, spiritual awakening, and so much more. We're stepping into the light of self-acceptance, of owning our power and potential.
If you have been yearning to dive headfirst into the world of entrepreneurship or awaken your spirituality or simply make peace with yourself, your search ends here at the Vibrant Life Podcast. As we embark on this enlightening journey together, we promise to hold your hand through every step of your journey to a more vibrant life.
Your adventure to true empowerment and authentic living begins here. Tap into the vibrant life you've always dreamed of. Subscribe now and join us at the Vibrant Life Podcast. Embrace your vibrant self. Until then, shine on.
Shine on.
Hi, welcome to the Vibrant Life Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Cassie.
I'm Audrey.
And we are so excited to be back. I say excited, but this actually could be kind of a heavier episode.
Yeah.
But before we dig in, we want to let you guys know that the Vibrant Life Society is open.
It's
a
open!
thing!
Yay!
So if you aren't on our emailing list or haven't seen our TikToks, we created an app. And within that app is a whole lot of wonderful goodness. You have all of our podcast pals, all of the resources that we talk about. You also get access to exclusive courses that we've put together. We have meditations, guided meditations, just all kinds of good things.
There's a community platform for people to reach out and to connect with one another. And that's really kind of what it's more about, is the community. It's like Facebook for women who are looking to be empowered and
Yes.
to be able to take control of, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling stressed, if you're wanting to just take every day and make it your bitch, so to say.
Yes.
Like, to be like, this is my life and I want it to look and feel this way and I want to take action, but I don't know what to do. And so this space is a safe space for people to come together and to talk about what their struggles are, what's happening. So it's basically taking our podcast and we're taking it on a whole nother level where we really want to be able to connect with people who are our people. Like, we know you guys are out there.
Bringing it in. I know for me, like, sometimes social media, it can be so fun and empowering, but then other times it can be so heavy.
And draining.
And that time on your phone, we want it to be something that is empowering. And we want it to be something that uplifts you and adds to your day.
Yes.
And so
instead of taking away.
Right. So that's why it was important for us to get the app, because we know you are busy. And so we want it to be available wherever you are. So it's not like you have to be sitting down at your computer. It's like you can just pull it up on your phone, jump into the community, join the conversations, get the resources you need. Yeah, we hope to see you in there.
Yes. And then eventually we're going to have like live events and things like that too. So like we're talking about like having a wind down time with me where we work on like meditation together, pulling some cards, like just talking about life in general, what the week's struggles were, things like that. And then,
I'm big on planning. So plan with me sessions where we talk about what's upcoming, how to structure your week. We're going to do visualization exercises for 2025. So lots of good events. We're constantly adding to it.
Mm-hmm. And we haven't recorded in a while.
We haven't.
We've recorded. Okay. So if any of you have listened to the last few, I just left it in there. I was like, we're doing another one. This is 4. I was so overwhelmed by the end of that, but it ended up being perfect because we were able to then pour into Vibrant Life and kind of get it going. And now we're working on a webinar that we're going to run live on social media about a 5-day planning session, which if you're not ready to commit to Vibrant Life Society, that is a free option that we're doing to work on preparing your life for 2025, kind of a goal setting, but more like tapping in
intention setting.
It's tapping into what you want to feel for the next year. What things are you looking to let go of?
Right. What are you calling in? What are you releasing?
Yep.
How are we going to get there? Just kind of getting that resetting for the next year. So that's a 5-day planning party. And we're doing that live throughout November and December. So join one of those if you want to know a little bit about or get kind of a feel of what Vibrant Life is about and interacting. And we're going to do those live on social media so that we get the interaction piece. So hopefully.
Definitely. Yes. Hopefully. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. So with that, I think that kind of leads us into our conversation today is if we're trying to call things in, what do we need to do first before we can do that? And we're talking specifically about forgiveness today, forgiveness of others. And then Cassie brought up a good point that forgiveness of self is also super vital in your spiritual journey.
Yes. So something that I've been doing more since Audrey and I have been hanging out is doing like releasing rituals and doing a lot more of that. I dabbled in that before, but I've been a lot more intentional with that. And it's brought up a lot of my own limiting beliefs. It's brought up a lot of reflection over things that like I think I regret. But then when I think through it, I'm like, oh, well, I remember why I made that choice, or I just need to forgive past Cassie, who was doing the best she freaking could with the information she had. It maybe didn't turn out great, but she was doing the best she could at that time. And it's like that old adage of like, know better, do better. Like she was doing the best she could. Mm-hmm. And sometimes things went to shit, and that's just how it goes.
Yeah.
But releasing that so that I can do better in the future is kind of what we were talking about a little bit earlier. But that self-forgiveness piece, I think, is one of the hardest things to do.
Yeah.
I know I am usually better at empathy for others than I am for myself, like trying to put myself in their shoes. But I have perfectionist tendencies for myself. My expectations are way up here. So yeah. Does that relate?
It absolutely relates. I think that is something. I'm not sitting with the self-forgiveness piece right now at this moment, which I'll tap into why a little bit later on. But I think that was a huge part of my spiritual awakening. This journey was going back through on all the things that bring you shame, all the things that you're embarrassed about, all the things that you judge yourself for doing, acknowledging those. And then that's just it. Realizing that you did the best you could with the information you had. And maybe that old version of you, like if you hadn't gone through that, you wouldn't be this new bright and shiny version that you are now. So identifying those, journaling, man, it's so good to just kind of write down all the things that you don't like or things that you judge or things that make you feel shameful and acknowledging it. And then I like to put things in shiny pink bubbles and blow them away.
I like that.
And release it. It's so important.
For me, I'm apparently about the fire. I like to write things down and burn it.
Yes, I also
it's been my go-to lately of like I'm releasing this and I'm just gonna burn it. And
we talked about that on earlier podcasts where you were like pyro, you're on it, you're on that train.
It was really good, even to the point where Gemma was like, "Mom, are you burning things again?" I'm like, "Yes." Yes, I am.
Yes, I am. Good for you.
Yeah, and trying to like bring her into that. I've been talking a lot with her about it too, actually, of forgiveness as she gets older. So one of the bigger things that I've had to forgive in my life is my ex-husband and his infidelity. I didn't forgive it in a sense of reconciliation, and I want to make that very clear because that was pushed on me. That was an expectation of my church and some other people, and I was like, yeah. No, that's not the route that I chose to go. If you did, that's your journey.
You're like, no judgment, but no, not for me.
Not for me.
Not for me.
But having to forgive that, and that is interesting because that is an exercise in forgiveness continually, because I had to wrestle with that when it first all went down, which was right about the time that Gemma was born. So for those of you who maybe haven't heard, or I don't know how much of this story I've shared.
Bits and pieces.
Yeah. So my ex-husband started an affair while I was like 6 months pregnant is when I started to kind of get that intuition about it. And so we split up before Gemma was 2 months old. So 6 weeks. There was a lot of drama in there, but having to forgive that. And so it was really heavy when it first started. And it took several years for me to work through that. And then the thing that's continually caught me off guard is having to forgive again, because now the impact's on Gemma and the things that, make my life harder. But through that, it also taught me to self-forgive, because I had to be like, well, I'm mad at you because this is hard right now. But then I was like, but also I have to recognize my part in it. Like, not in my part that I drove him to cheating. Let's be very real. That is that is a personal choice. there are ethical ways to end a marriage. That is not one of them. I can go on that soapbox for quite a while. But I chose him to marry. Like that's on me. That's something that I need to own, and that's something that I need to forgive. And so that was one of the things I had to work through, and working through, like you said, the shame and the disappointment and just all of that is kind of a continual thing. And now working through that again and having those conversations at a 7-year-old level, like of acknowledging that it's okay to be mad. It's okay for it to be hard. It's okay for you to wish that it was different. Yes. And then releasing that and being like, but this is what it is, and finding that good. I think that is probably one of my biggest superpowers, is finding the good in any situation and being adaptable to it.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I love the situation I'm in.
Yeah.
But that's definitely a skill. And so trying to also help my daughter cultivate that skill.
Yeah.
That was a really long soapbox.
No, but that's an excellent soapbox, and that's all what we're talking about, right? That was a huge thing that happened to you.
Right. Right.
And that's a great example of not only forgiving yourself, but then having to forgive him, and the point that you could like look him in the face and co-parent with him.
Right.
Right. So that was super important that you didn't hold on to that anger that just burns inside. Like if you hold on to that, like what good is that doing? That's just lowering your vibration, and it's making it hard for you to bring better things in.
Right. And I did get to that point. It was like and that's actually when I went to Fonda, you guys. I've talked about Fonda before, but I went to her and I was like, I am tired of being mad. Yeah. It was like 2.5 years later. I was like, I have done 2 years of talk therapy. I have screamed, and I've gone into the woods and screamed, and I've done all the things. I was like, I'm just tired of being mad, because at this point, it's only holding me back. It's not holding him back. He could give a shit less if I'm mad at him or not. But I'm tired of being mad. I'm tired of holding on to this. And so that was when I really started to get into energy work and like learning how to let it go.
Off key, let it
go. Professional singers, we are not. Yeah.
But I love that you brought up Fonda. So I started seeing Fonda recently, which is amazing.
I converted another one.
I think it was for my birthday. So I think maybe it was around the last time we recorded, and I was like, oh, I was going to go get a massage, but I couldn't find a time. And she's like, Fonda has a time. So I went in, and speaking of forgiveness, Fonda works with energy body talk. So she intuitively listens to things your body has to say, things that you're not aware of, and brings things up to the surface for you to work on. And then she, in turn, energetically works on your body on letting some things go. So for me, this all stems from childhood. Mom, if you're listening, I love you, and this has nothing to do directly with you. It's just my journey and what I felt growing up, and things that my body has held on to, that I was not safe to be loved, I was not safe to be seen, and I was not safe to be touched, is what my body told Fonda, which was huge.
That's big. Those are big.
Those are very big things. And it brought up a lot of things that needed to be worked through and forgiven and released and to let go. So with that, it included some people along my growing up journey. My significant other, like we've been together for 21 years now. Our relationship is old enough to drink, which is nuts. 21, 22. Actually, we're getting ready to hit 22.
That's crazy.
Let me do some math here. So things that we grew up together too. So we weren't the best versions of ourselves in the beginning. Right. And you grow and you change and you learn. And then as you go through things, lots of things get hurt along the way when you're with somebody for that long.
Right.
I think. And so just conscious awareness of what things might have been said or done that need to be forgiven and released, so you can learn and grow and be better, are important. So Fonda was a big part in opening up a can of worms for me recently, which is okay.
Which is good. It has to get messy too. Like it will get messy.
Yeah, and it got very, very messy. I saw Fonda, and then I feel like my life just kind of fell apart. So since the last time we recorded, I went from feeling, and we're talking about seasons.
Yes.
The seasons. So I'm in a restorative season where I went into hermit mode. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I feel like I was overwhelmed by everything that was coming my way, and everything felt like dark and gray and cloudy for a little bit.
Yeah, so if you join our planning party, the 5-day planning party, you will find out that we use a seasons method when we're talking about goals within the Vibrant Life Society. And that is a season of resetting, when you're stepping back.
We've talked about this on the podcast before.
Yeah. So that's your season of resetting, where you're just figuring out your new normal, your new what's working for me in today. It usually comes after a season of a lot of growth or a season of rejoicing. We got to reset. We got to get back into what's good for us, what's working for us. I feel like that's a different kind of like internal growth, I would say.
Yeah, I agree. For me, I always say that fall shows you how beautiful it is to let things go, when all the leaves are falling off the trees.
Yes.
So I always kind of just intuitively follow the seasons. And we've talked about that before too, is that my spiritual growth, I just tapped my microphone like 3 times. I'm not sure how loud that was. But my seasons of growth tend to follow. So I'm getting ready to go to a downtime with the winter coming. So right now, I just have to figure out what I have to let go, and then I can just sit and hibernate for a few months.
Yeah, it's interesting because when I was creating these seasons, and I talk about them a couple different places, but I did create 4 seasons because we are in the Midwest and we have 4 seasons, and so that makes sense. But where you go into kind of a resetting season in the winter, I tend to go into a revitalization season where I get super like, I'm going to work on stuff because I'm not. And so it's just interesting. Like, there is no right way to use your seasons or set your goals. It's all based on your energy.
Yeah.
There was a point that I want to, forgiveness. I think I want to make very clear, like, forgiveness doesn't mean
it's okay.
What they did was okay.
Yes.
And actually they don't need to ask for forgiveness for you to actually forgive or to release it. That was something I struggled with so much because I was like, he's not sorry. Like, he's not sorry. Yeah. This was a very like clear choice. And anyway. So I really struggled with that. I was like, how do you forgive someone that doesn't want to be forgiven or doesn't think they need forgiveness? And it's more about for you. And I really went round and round with that. And when people would be like, oh, you need to forgive, I was like, walk away from me right now. Like, literally, you are in danger.
Yeah.
I am a Taurus. I'm very slow to anger, but I'm mad right now. I'm big mad. And I'm going to be for a long time.
Rightfully so.
Right.
Rightfully so.
But everyone just wanted to smooth that out. And I was like, for me, I was not allowed to be mad growing up. That was not an emotion that was allowed in my family culture. And so I just had to really learn to sit with it.
Yeah.
And be like, it is okay that I feel like I was wronged. And then working through how to let that go, how to let the anger go, how to let the anger, not only at him, but at myself go. Because there was a lot of self-recrimination over like, you gave this loser 11 years of your life and had a baby with them. Like, what the hell are you thinking? Like, so there was a lot of that and having to work through that and forgive the inner child Cassie that picked him, the teenage Cassie that again was like, oh, we're going to grow up together and it's going to be fine. And then, forgive the 25-year-old that stayed. I mean, just all of these, for like going back and forgiving myself at every step of the way and then choosing to move forward without that and release it. So I don't want to minimize that process for you guys. Like, that's not at all what we're doing.
Not at all.
But how I did that, if I could give you some practical tips, because you guys know I love that. It was a lot of journaling. It was a lot of therapy. It was Fonda, so energy work. It was, like I said, I was open to doing all the things. I went out in the woods and I screamed and I spent time in nature and gratitude practice was a big thing for me in that, which doesn't seem like it should be so tied in. So I sent a picture to my sister. I was like, I got to wear yoga pants today out of the house. Like, just every little thing, like every little rule that was in our relationship, I was like, I'm breaking it and I'm doing it on purpose. I'm going to celebrate that I'm breaking it. And I got to choose how to spend that money today. And nobody got to tell me that. All of those little things. So that would be my example with that. But another kind of to juxtapose with that was like, this is going to be heavy, you guys. So about a year before my marriage split up, my dad was actually killed. So he was murdered overseas. And so while I was trying to forgive my husband, it was going through this forgiveness journey of people intentionally removed my dad from my life. And so trying to find the silver lining in that was a lot different. I didn't have the anger. I wasn't mad at him, but I still needed to forgive the things that were left undone in our relationship. I needed to forgive the things from my past, and that's hard to do when that person isn't there. But the silver linings were like how it changed our family culture. My family's a lot closer than we used to be. So trying to find the joy in that. Yeah. I don't know what else I was going to say about that. But the silver, like, it's not a one size fits all, I guess is where I was going with that.
Yeah.
And forgiveness. Yeah.
Okay, so Cassie, this is such a weird thing, and I'm not. So as soon as you started talking about your dad, I started to get in head to toe chills, and then the lights are flickering.
Oh my God, we're not doing this. Yeah, I can't look at you. I'm a sympathetic crier.
So, well, you're talking about the silver linings, and I'm just thinking about energy and how energy never changes. We've talked, my sister pointed that out, that I said that in a previous podcast, that energy never dies. It's always there. So I just, as you're talking about this, I feel very super connected to your dad being here right in this space right now. So if you don't want to do that, that's totally fine. But I don't know. I just feel this overwhelming like sense of like, I don't know, warmth. Like maybe he gave really good big bear hugs.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he gave really good hugs, and
He did.
And he wants to hug you right now. That did get really heavy really fast.
Yeah, it did.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
But what I was saying is, oh God, Audrey.
Like trying to see if there's anything else to pull through. I'm very, very much a like just gently tapping the surface of what's on the other side and have that capability.
He did give the best bear hugs. But finding the silver linings through that situation, my family is so much stronger together as a unit because we went through this together. Our communication styles are much better. We're much more willing to, before we had a culture of like sweeping things under the rug, and that's not, I mean, it's still a little bit, but not nearly as much.
Oh, let me get you
I think I'm good. Yes. No, that hit me because I was feeling.
Are you feeling it too?
A little bit, yeah. Just a snuggle. And we were talking about how I was telling Audrey before we recorded that I have known I wanted to do something entrepreneurial for years and years and years. And my dad was an entrepreneur, and that's who instilled that spirit in me. So anyway, our family culture is different, but my journey of forgiveness of not only my dad, which I think I've done, but forgiving those men who inevitably hurt me personally. It was much harder to forgive my ex-husband because he knew me personally. And I think that was kind of the difference. Like, they both have changed my lives in, you know, in so many ways, for the worse and for the, I don't want to say for the better, because I don't think the guys who murdered my dad have ever changed my life for the better. But going back to your earlier point of like, I would not be the person I am without those journeys. And things happened in my life that weren't available, that wouldn't have been available on that if those things didn't happen.
Yeah.
Wow, you guys, that one got really heavy.
You're like, this is going to get heavy. And they're like, wow, this is a whole new level of heavy. I wasn't expecting
We're so
it.
vibrant over here. But
Well,
that's part of it.
We're vibrant through dealing with the hard stuff, right? Life
Right.
is hard and ucky and challenging.
Yeah.
Those are
I mean, this is the part of community of it's real life. It's not just this like toxic positivity of like,
no.
smile through it. No, be mad if you need to
Yeah.
be sad if you need to be, but then release that.
Yeah, that's huge.
So.
Release and forgive.
Release and forgive. And I don't say forgiveness is like a one-time thing.
No,
Okay.
and it's something that you need to revisit. So when Fonda brought some things up, I was like, I was done with that. And she's like, your body says you're not. And I'm like, okay. And then she addressed a couple other things like, do you reward yourself with food? I was like, what do you mean? Can you tell that by my size? And she's like, you have a very unhealthy relationship with food. Like, she said some real things that I was just like, damn, Fonda, like, I am so called out right now. So things that I need to work on. And I'm in a period of resetting, of digging through all the deep and dark things that need to be released. And when we talked about what we were going to talk about today, I was like, oh shit, we got forgiveness on the list. And I was like, I don't want to talk about that. I was like, it's probably because I'm triggered by that, because I'm probably avoiding some things that I need to dig deep into. Probably not as deep as having someone cheat on me or having my father killed, but still.
It's not everyone's story.
It
just happens to be mine.
So even though those are big and heavy things, like even the smallest things that you've got going on that you're like, oh, this is just annoying to me, it's time to address it, deal with it, forgive it, move on.
Which is interesting, because having a period of my life, because those were all kind of clumped together. If you're confused on the timeline, it was all within a period of like a year and a half, 2 years. And so it was interesting having gone through those really, really big things to have to work through and forgive. I almost have a harder time forgiving. Like, it depends on the thing, but so much more just like rolls off my back now, because I'm like, whatever, I can handle it. Like, no worries, you know? But then there's other little things where I get like so irrationally worked up about. But I don't know if that's, let's talk about forgiveness and boundaries, because I think some of that is me not necessarily not forgiving somebody, but just drawing my boundary and holding it, which is something previous Cassie didn't do at all. If I'm being honest, I had shit boundaries.
Yeah. Well, so with that forgiveness piece, and again, it's not okay that they did it. It's just a matter of you being like, okay, this happened, and I'm going to forgive the situation and let it go. And then I'm going to draw boundaries, so I know exactly what I need now moving forward. Like, when I have an argument with my husband and I say that I need space, it means that I need space. I've been asking for years. And him not realizing that, him not giving me space, he's like, I'm just trying to get a resolution. I'm like, yes, but I'm telling you that I need space and you're not giving it to me. And when you talk to me like that, it's actually gaslighting and kind of manipulative. So we had to work through that this week, where he didn't realize he was being manipulative, controlling. I didn't know it either, but I knew that I needed space. So then what would happen when I didn't get the space? I would get very angry and I would start throwing things, slamming doors, screaming at him, which was also not very productive. So it was but we were able to get to the root cause of what the issue was with our arguing. And I was like, we have had arguments like this maybe once or twice a year in the last 22 years. But I'm like, now we've identified some really toxic traits that we had with each other that we, you know, when you start dating somebody when you're so young, like, that's probably part of it, because you're not a grown-up yet and you don't know how to fight like a grown-up.
Right.
Which is to sit down and to talk and to use your words. But then, okay, so now we got to the spot where I'm like, okay, we've identified it. Now I need to sit down and forgive it and release it so we can move on and figure out what the next steps are. So I don't know where I was going with that, but I just went off on a tangent of some darker things happening in my life.
Let's just throw all the shit into one podcast about forgiveness.
But identifying things, you know, when you're in relationships with people, you know, we're not perfect. We do things too. And so owning the things that you know are incorrect and need work done too, and having real conversations with people is how you get to the bottom of it. But if you have people that aren't willing to do their side of the work, then you need to put a boundary in place on, I will not let this happen to me any longer. That's where I was going. Boundaries.
That's where you were going. Good.
I lost my good job. I circled around. I got it.
Yes, but forgiveness within relationships, it is actually releasing it, because one of the things that I realized I personally did in my family culture before is we would sweep, but that resentment was there.
Yes.
And so now if I am not willing to talk about it with somebody, then I know I just need to release it right away, and I can't hold it against them because I didn't bring that up. And some of that is just growing up and knowing like how to communicate, being more sure in myself, getting away from toxic relationships. But if I'm not willing to talk about it, then I know I need to forgive just within myself. If I don't feel like I can do that, then it needs to be a conversation where there's probably going to be things that I did that they're going to bring up that then I'm going to have to ask their forgiveness for. Yeah. And that's never fun.
No, absolutely not.
You know, but like you said, you identified traits within Nathan and within yourself. Mm-hmm. You were both contributing situation, but you talked about it. And so it's like you can work on it and forgive. But part of deciding if you're going to draw that boundary line is not only just acknowledging it and forgiving it, but then the action needs to come after. And it's not really true forgiveness if you don't, or it's not really true change if there's action isn't behind that. I saw this TikTok that really resonated with me of, if you're in a relationship with somebody and they validate your feelings and the issue, and they're like, oh, I'm so sorry you felt that way. I'm so sorry, this happened. But then the action isn't there to change the behavior. That's not.
They need to put their money where their mouth is.
That's not actually helpful either, or validating.
Yep.
Which I resonated with, because that was something that would sometimes happen in my past marriage. Of like, I'd bring something up and be like, yes, I'm going to change. I'm going to do this. Absolutely. And then it was like, okay. Well, that went absolutely nowhere fast or good. So yeah.
Wow. That was quite the podcast.
It was. Should we try to bring it around to a happier note?
We're at 32 minutes.
Time, guys.
Good luck on your journey. Let us know if we can help you.
Well, that was a time.
It was a time. But I think we're just showing real human side, like real human bad experiences that have happened, things we've done to work through it, and that it's not all bright and shiny and happy, because I think that might be Vibrant Life. Like, I don't want that to be like a misconception that Vibrant Life is all about the happy-go-lucky. Like, we get into the deep, serious things. Real life happens. It's not toxic positivity.
It's about thriving in spite of.
Yes.
Not because of.
Yes.
Which is something that I kind of coined while I was going through my divorce, of like, I am thriving in spite of all of these things that happened to me. I'm not going to sugarcoat it that this is like a good time right now. And even right now in today, I mean, Audrey's example was from last week. Like, I have my own shit going on. Like, it's not all unicorns, sparkles, and rainbows.
Nope.
But you can still thrive through that. And I think the difference is the hope.
Yeah.
The hope that it's like, I have the tools, I have the fortitude, I have the
community support.
It's like, I'm in a much better place now, like thinking through those same scenarios. Like, I don't have a husband at the moment, but if I did, if we happened to get divorced now, I would be in a much different place.
Yeah.
Because when I know myself better, I have the tools now, but I have a much better community than I did when I was leaving a isolating relationship where I was like, all my friends are gone. I have my family, like, that's about it. I have my coworkers, yay. Like, which granted, some of them were fabulous and they were true friends, but yeah, it's just a different space. And so it's that constant personal growth that we want to help enable and cheer you through and all of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
On that note, I think we will end.
I think that's good for now.
Find us on social media. Join Vibrant Life. See our webinars. Whatever. Click all the buttons.
Okay. See you guys.
Thank you for tuning into the Vibrant Life podcast. We hope today's episode has energized and inspired you to live your best life. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform so as to never miss an episode. And please take a moment to leave us a review. Your feedback fuels our mission to bring you more valuable content. Remember, your journey to Vibrant Life is ongoing. Stay connected with us on social media at Vibrant Life Society for daily tips, motivation, and community support. As we wrap up today's conversation, we encourage you to embrace each moment, pursue your passions, and prioritize your well-being. Together, let's create a life that radiates with energy and purpose. Until next time, live vibrantly. See you in our next episode.